red,
Yeah.
and not playing Ragavan, and Babel, but apparently his deck doesn't need it.
Yeah, I kind of thought he just forgot those cards at home, but
Yeah.
turns out it was on purpose.
So this deck has, as you can see, with Eduardo's hand, these Field of Ruins and Demolition field effects. Like it's really loading up on those, which is naturally very good against your deck. But I
Very
think
true.
it's just like good enough in the format to really load up on me.
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty good because, yeah, great against Amulet. And there's just a lot of decks in Modern right now that are trying to be as greedy as possible. You know, they're just playing one basic, maybe two. And, Reid's deck, I'm sure, is along that vein as well. Not playing a ton of basics. So you kind of get to do that count while your Field of Ruin. Yeah, I see Reid has a Forest and a Plains. That eventually, late game, you just get to take out these lands and turn them into strip mines.
Yeah, try to color screw them a little bit if they are a 5-color deck like Reid is here
Yeah.
today, playing Leyline Zoo, being targeted by a Thoughtseize, Territorial Kavu headed to the graveyard, Wild Mikado, Leyline Binding, and a handful of lands is what's left here for the Duke, picking up, great first draw step there. The classic, really.
Really is. That's always the most frustrating thing with these style of Zoo decks. I played the blue version in Atlanta, and I feel like that was my most common draw step right to start the game.
Yeah, Reid just picks up a copy of Leyline of the Guild Pact, which of course you want to have in your starting hand. Doesn't mean it's not castable, because it is, but having it be your first draw step after you've been thought seized is, let's just call it less than ideal.
Less than ideal for sure. At least Eduardo was able to pick up a swamp here to have some play this turn. Dauthi Voidwalker's not looking amazing right now, but getting something on the battlefield to present a clock, it's not so bad for him.
Reid now has access to Leyline Binding, which this deck casts very easily. So via Temple, Garden, and Steam Vents means it's only 2. There goes the Dauthi Voidwalker, and now another Thoughtseize drawn here by Eduardo. So you mentioned the swamp being the draw last turn. Eduardo's hand is not particularly good, but it does have a copy of the One Ring, and it's got it's got a lot of work to do, it looks like.
Yeah, definitely. And, the One Ring can be kind of brutal up against this Zoo deck because, well, you can't get yourself really within 8, Tribal Flames for 5, as well as just a couple of bolts. It ends up being quite scary. And Eduardo seems to be, kind of racing his life total to 0 here. But able to look at a hand that's relatively safe. Hopes for the best for the One Ring next turn, but the Leyline Binding was a nice draw off the top here for Reid.
Arguably the best draw in the deck for Reid, or certainly one of the best draws in the deck, because that is a clean answer to the copy of the One Ring that Reid doesn't know Eduardo has. But if Eduardo has any top end spell whatsoever, Shieldred, the One Ring, so on and so forth, Leyline Binding is a clean answer to it. So again, probably Reid's best draw, all things told.
Yeah, we'll see Reid get either a land to complete Wild Nacatl or just, perfect land. Be able to complete Wild Nacatl here to make it a 3/3, as well as makes Leyline Binding castable for 2 mana. So we'll see if Eduardo has like the patience to not draw a card immediately, which seems kind of tempting here. At least wait till end step to maybe tie up Reid's mana a bit. But if he just goes for the draw right here, it's not going to get that one draw step either.
Well, here is the One Ring. It's time for the cat and mouse game of the very powerful artifact in Modern. Arguably Modern's best artifact right now.
Oh, you take that back. You leave Amulet alone.
I'm going to stick with what I said.
All right, fair enough.
even though I do like Amulet a lot. You see Eduardo now is going to activate the One Ring in Reid's upkeep, but Reid does have the Leyline Binding, so that's going to take care of that, which means Eduardo's not going to draw any cards because the burden counter was not placed on there, and that is a good draw step there as well. In Scion of Draco, assuming Reid has the necessary untapped land to be able to cast it this turn.
Yeah, it looks like blue-white or blue-green would get it done here, so excellent draw. Now, this is a ton of pressure. Puts Eduardo down to 7, presents lethal next turn already. The One Ring protection, so unable to do that. Buys himself a little bit of time, but the Shieldred's Edict's definitely going to help here.
Yeah, that'll take a little bit of the wind out of Reid's sails. This will be able to take care of one of these creatures. And of course, you're going to see a Field of Ruin activation here to take care of that Triumph. So now basic forest. Now you mentioned there are no more basics left in the deck. So could hypothetically fire off a demolition field again, but I think it's time for Shieldred's Edict to take care of something here.
Yeah, I think so. If you just take 6, it's pretty brutal. Then you sack Wild Mikado, Scion will be able to finish you off. So you kind of have to do it now, even though it's just getting rid of a Wild Mikado here. Especially brutal because you effectively shrunk down Wild Mikado by getting rid of all the red sources.
And yet it's the one that's going to die to the edict. So die it does. And now Jingantha has been added to the grip. A little bit of a freebie there for these Leyline Zoo decks as they can play a companion. Reid is going to serve on it here with that Scion of Draco. Eduardo's going to fall down to 6. Very important draw step here. Castle Lockney, not exactly what the doctor ordered, I assume.
Yeah, pretty brutal, and you don't really have the ability to draw off castle right now. You can destroy a land, get to search for yourself, and Reid is out of basic, so you at least have that going for you to make it a little less likely to cast Gigantha. But yeah, Eduardo has a lot of good draw steps for that turn. You know, Liliana the Veil is excellent in Modern right now. Has 4 full Shieldred's Edict, and you know, those are kind of the big ones here for that. But is unable to find anything.
Well, it's not over yet. Eduardo's going to fall down to 2, it looks like, and then there will be another draw step. Now, as you mentioned, he does have plenty of good draw steps in this situation, and Reid's draw steps are actually being cut out a little bit here because of these Field of Ruins and Demolition Fields. So I imagine Eduardo's probably taking a look at the deck list here just a little bit since it is open to figure out exactly what to nail with this Demolition Field, and it's going to be an Overgrown Tomb. Again, as Corey mentioned, no basics to search up, and now starting to cut the colors from Reid as well.
Yeah, I think Reid's best draw here is just a fetch land. Being able to put a Territorial Kavu down to prevent any kind of single piece of spot removal from stabilizing this game. Any kind of damnation effects, those are in the sideboard. So if there's more than one creature, it's pretty rough for Eduardo. Ooh.
That's not the removal spell that Eduardo was looking for. Unfortunately, not able to stabilize this game and has to concede it. So Reid Duke is going to win game number 1 here over Eduardo and Mono Black control. So we're going to go to the sideboards here. Players are rocking and a rolling. I think these might be old sideboards. Am I right about that? Yeah, the left one's an old one. The right one's a new one. So let's focus on the right. Corey, what do you like here from the Duke?
Yeah, the one thing I dislike here is seeing more of this Rakdos Evoke deck on the side. Like, leave me alone. I mean, it pestered me enough already.
Tough to take.
Yeah, so from Reid here, looks like we are bringing in Orcish Bowmasters. That's kind of the main thing. Taking out Ragavans. This is a very good deck against Ragavan. You have a couple Orcish Bowmasters from Eduardo, and then just a lot of spot removal. Kind of shocking. I think if Reid's going to go back on the play, he'll probably consider bringing those Ragavans back in. But on the flip side, we see Damnations coming in. That's going to be great at being able to deal with Scion of Draco. Anytime that these Leyline Scion of Dracos are not like the best thing you can be doing in the matchup, then the deck is usually not that well positioned in the matchup. And I kind of think that's the case here, where there's a lot of Damnations post board to deal with the powerful thing. Now playing the Scion Draco Leyline stuff against you, that's a bit of a different story because you do not have many clean answers to deal with it.
No, not at all. That might be a problem if I end up playing in Reid, but that's a problem for future Cedric. Present Cedric is looking forward to watching more of this Mono Black deck, which again you mentioned did very well in Atlanta, and it's starting to pick up. It looks like a little bit on Magic.
Yeah, it's definitely pretty sweet. You still get to just really play all the powerful cards. You have a super high ceiling with Grief, Not Dead After All, and the One Ring. It's kind of tough to go wrong there, as well as Dothy Voidwalker and just Hand Disruption in general ends up being an awesome plan B. So I do really like this deck, you know, and I think this deck was really designed by saying, hey, I still think this Rakdos Evoke style Magic is really good, but Ragavan stinks. And I think that's very much true right now with all these Orcish Bowmasters running around. That's not really a card I love, even though Magus of the Moon, Blood Moon, Fable the Mirror Breaker, those ones are pretty good.
Sure. Okay, well, we'll see if Reid's able to hit the top end draw of his deck, which is a Leyline to start the game. This whole thing kind of broke on the scene a little bit earlier this year. I don't think it's as dominant as some people feared it would be, but I do think it is still quite good.
Yeah, I think that's another thing. The ceiling on it, if you get Scion on turn 2, you have Leyline in your opener, sure. It looks pretty strong. But outside of that, you know, it seems pretty okay. You draw a Leyline like we saw from Reid, it looks terrible. Everything looks pretty mediocre outside of the busted start that you can have with it.
Well, one thing that is pretty good right now is Reed's opening hand has a turn one play in Wild McConnell, multiple options potentially here at turn two in Sign of Draco and a Show of Brawler, and a way to attempt to finish the game in Tribal Flames. However, Eduardo with it looks like a Sunken Citadel into maybe some Field of Ruin activations here, partner.
Yeah, I love it. And Reed's worst card in hand by far is the Plains, because that just means there's only one land to search up here. And you got to love the Sunken Citadel trick. This is kind of brought to us by Aspiring Spike, who has been playing this kind of combination over and over, where you get to Field of Ruin onto, plus then use Fatal Push to be able to clean up Wild Mikado. Wild Mikado, just a really great start here.
Yeah, that's a pretty sick start, actually. Sunken Citadel is a very nice addition to the modern format alongside Field of Ruin and Demolition Field, among other lands. And, well, it's that ley line again.
Just the worst time to be drawing that card. It's so frustrating when that happens. But, you know, this could come down to the point where if Eduardo doesn't destroy all of Reed's lands, and you get to 4 mana, if you have a Scion of Draco on the battlefield and then can play Leyline, he can still do something.
I don't know if Reed's ever going to get the opportunity to do that, because it looks like his lands are going to be going in the graveyard here. Fast and Furious. Sunken Citadel alongside Field of Ruin once again. Going to blow up that Steam Vents. As you mentioned, the most important card in some respects in Reed's hand is the Plains, which now Eduardo knows is there because Reed can't search up a land. And so this is the old rock in a hard place here for Duke. His draws have to basically be perfect from here on out.
Yeah, that was definitely something where Eduardo probably his eyes widened a bit when he didn't see Reed search for a land there. That's just face-up information that you know the Plains is in there. But Reed actually picked up a pretty strong card here with Orcish Baumeister. Being able to just wait until Eduardo's end step, then fetch up a land, then play Orcish Baumeister, and kind of force the action at Reed's end step is going to help a little bit. Now, we do see the Orcish Baumeister from Eduardo. That's going to kind of break serve a little bit on that.
Yeah, a little Baumeister fighting. We saw that at Pro Tour The Lord of the Rings quite a bit last summer. I wouldn't be surprised if we see it at the modern Pro Tour that's going to be taking place a couple of months from now in Amsterdam as well, as it looks like Reed is going to be sacrificing a win.
And we'll see if there's actually any untapped Black Source. Okay, yep, Overgrown Tomb still to be searched up. It does get pretty awkward when you're playing against all these Demolition Field of Ruin effects, because, well, when you want your lands to be untapped from this domain style deck, there's not always the best options. You really want to be taking it slow and get Triomes as the start if you don't have this extremely aggressive, you know, Leyline into Scion on turn 2 type draw. But Eduardo has just had these land destruction spells from the beginning, and it's making it really tough on Reed.
Yeah, these Field of Ruins and Demolition Fields have looked better maybe than expected. Because one thing I certainly didn't take into the equation is just that Sunken Citadel can really force the action right away. You know, if we're kind of playing an honest game in some respects, which I guess we're not trying to do a ton of in Modern, but imagine if we were, you know, it might be a little slow to actually activate Field of Ruin, Demolition Field, and maybe too slow to actually get the game done, which is what game one kind of looked like. But that's not the case here.
Yeah, not the case at all. The only thing that Reed can really do here is attack with a 2/3 into 2 1/1s. It's basically limited magic right here because Reed does not have any other options. Leyline Binding cost $1 billion, Tribal Flames uncastable, and Scion of Draco, well, you know, has a decent discount right now. Only cost 8.
Well, you know, working at it a little bit. What's going to happen here over the course of this game now is that a lot of the draw steps here for Reed, as far as spells are concerned, are going to be uncastable. You know, non-lands are ideal, and fetch lands he'll probably want to play and just have him sit there and figure out how he wants to navigate. But the non-land spells, the majority of them, as mentioned, will be uncastable, like the lightning bolt he drew last turn.
Yep, absolutely. But honestly, even any fetch land to go fetch up a Steam Vent, something that doesn't match the forest and the plains, does put Reed right back into this because, well, Eduardo had a fantastic start, but is missing the really powerful thing like a One Ring, something to start pulling ahead. Demolition Field is another good draw here, and we'll see if Eduardo actually holds this one. That'd be interesting.
And it looks like he's going to play it. There's an argument to holding it, of course, which is to conceal the information. But I absolutely agree with you. He's just missing one piece to the puzzle. It's a One Ring. It's a shield. Well, never mind.
Oh, there it is. GG.
It was just some sort of big spell to put a wrap on the game, and he just found it in the One Ring. this one is probably going to be over here in short order because the One Ring is a cooking now.
Yeah, absolutely. This looks super strong. And now the one thing that Reid does have going for him is we saw the Citadel supercharge these Field of Ruin effects for game number 1, or for game number 2, excuse me. Well, Eduardo was on the play here. Reid being on the play and being able to play a Wild Nacatl and a Territorial Kavu before Eduardo starts stripping away the lands is going to be a big deal, especially if Reid doesn't draw one of the basics.
These players are going to go to their sideboards one more time. Now, Corey, I'm going to ask you.
Yeah.
Of these two, which one do you want to play?
You know, with how many Field of Ruin and Demolition Fields just went to the yard in these first 2 games, I think I would rather play against Reid. You know, it's not the biggest deal to be stripping away a land or 2. My list of Amulet does only play 2 forests, so that is a little brutal. But the thing that I'm really worried about if I play against Eduardo is the fact that if he just waits for me to play a bounce land and in response to an Amulet trigger or whatever, destroys it there, that just seems like it feels like a time walk effect basically every single time. I'll ask you the flip side. Who do you want to win to play against?
I don't think I want to play against this Zoo deck, right? Doesn't seem like it's a particularly good matchup. I don't know, like, the griefing someone into the ground can kind of beat anybody.
Yes.
But it doesn't feel like it's great. But I don't know, maybe the mono black deck is what I want to play against because their card we're like the same deck except for I have a few better cards than Eduardo does. I think just because I have Ragavan and Fable, both those cards are busted.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close for you, for sure. And I mean, you have ways to have to sack Sign of Draco, right? Like you have some. Maybe, yeah, you got 1 Liliana.
Yeah, one whole Liliana.
Angrass Rampage. You're set.
Oh buddy. Yeah, I'm set.
You got 3 ways to deal with Sign of Draco in your 75. Man, you got it made.
Yeah, living the dream here. Speaking of living the dream. Oh well. Little grief scam action. Grief alongside Not Dead After All.
This is what you were supposed to be doing when you evoked that grief on me in game 3.
Yeah, didn't happen. Obviously, the big plan was to draw a second land, play Dauthi Voidwalker, and then grief.
Ooh.
But I wasn't able to do that, which is okay.
The second land strategy, huh? Bold.
Yeah, bold. Very bold of me.
Yeah, I would have been dead a lot faster if you did that instead of just taking my Thraggy boy, my Thrag Tusk.
Yeah. Well, what actually happened there is my opening hand milling land was that Raucous Theater, and it tricked me into keeping because it's like, well, I mean, I'll just surveil garbage and draw a land the next turn, which is just not always true. I don't know why I kept that hand. I'm sorry.
All I know is I would have snap kept that as well, Cedric. So no harm, no foul. But the one bit of harm and foul that is happening here is Reid cannot stop drawing that Leyline of the Guild Pack. He loves it.
Deck's a lot worse when that's your draw step at most stages of the game. Yeah, he's really loving it quite a bit.
It's been card 8 or 9 every single game so far.
He doesn't draw another one. That would be a real shame.
Yeah, no kidding.
Again, the ceiling on the Leyline Zoo deck is very high when it actually does draw Leyline in the opening hand, and it is a touch awkward when it picks it up for its draw steps. Again, it can cast the cards, so it's not the end of the world. And when Leyline is on the battlefield, it is, again, really darn good, but there is a little bit of awkwardness there, too.
Yeah, and we'll see if Reid gets a chance this time to just play it. A land off the top is not even that great of a draw. We're going to see a Field of Ruin more than likely on one of these lands. And then if you can just get Leyline, then the top of your deck is extremely live. Maybe you can rip a Sign of Draco. You can just have some insurance against Eduardo just doing the same thing he's done every single turn so far of Field of Ruin, Demolition Field every single turn. But, the flip side of that is Reid would really just like to start drawing some spells because this Grief is going to finish him off pretty quick.
It doesn't take too long for old Grief to get the job done, especially against a Zoo deck that has plenty of lands entering the battlefield untapped, ideally.
Yep.
A little bit of damage to you, and the fetch lands too. So the damage does add up. Now, no, my eyes do not deceive me. No red mana there for Expressive Iteration, Suggestion, Gotha being added to the grip. Fatal Push will take care of the Nicodle, and Eduardo's going to keep it on.
And then just has the option to play another Grief, which we're probably going to see because it equates a lethal attacker next turn, or play the best card in your deck, the One Ring. This draw for Eduardo for game 3 kind of made Reid's deck look laughably, I don't want to say bad, but this particular draw, it was an absolute beating.
Yeah, let's say decidedly average, but good news, Corey.
Yeah.
Could cast the Leyline, I think.
Oh, God, looks like you can.
Yeah, but Reid is not going to do that. Eduardo Sajgalik is going to win this game and match over Reid Duke 2-1. Mono Black Control